Hi, my name is Diton Wade and welcome back to the channel. Now, oftentimes when people talk about storytelling, one advice that they give is be authentic, be real. But the thing about our stories is they are so personal, they are so real, and sometimes very messy, you know. And while authenticity is powerful, not every detail about your story is valuable to everyone. So now the question is, how do you tell a story that is authentic, but is still helpful and valuable to your audience? That's what we're going to be unpacking in this video. So the first thing I want you to understand is authenticity is not equal to oversharing. The fact that you have heard that advice, be authentic, doesn't mean you should go on a video or you should write a book and just pour in all the details. No. Authenticity is not equal to oversharing. They are two different things. I'll give you an example. I'm currently reading a book titled Making It Big by a renowned entrepreneur called Femi Otedola. And while this book is very relatable, it's very authentic, it feels real. Why? Because reading every page and every chapter of that book, it almost seems like he's gisting with me. That's why I say it feels real, because I'm so immersed in the story that he's sharing. And as I go from page to page, there is the eagerness to keep reading. Now, while that is the case, I refuse to believe that this book, 280 something pages, covers his entire life. I refuse to believe that. Why? Because this man is in his 60s, and he started business when he was very, very young. Like at a very young age, that's when he went into business. Now, it's impossible for a 280 something page book to capture the whole essence of his life in business. But that doesn't change the fact that the book is authentic and it feels real to me now, and that's what I mean when I say authenticity does not equal oversharing. The fact that you're trying to be authentic in relaying your story to your audience doesn't mean you should just pour in all the details. Rather than overshare, the best thing you can do is focus on the parts that would be helpful to the people reading or listening to your story. Now, the second thing is, in sharing an authentic story, you want to make it relatable. Not every story connects with every audience. I need you to understand this, and that's okay. That's fine. You're not sent to everybody. Just ask yourself, the particular people that I want to reach with this information, what can I say that would help them learn, that would help them grow, that would build them, that would challenge them, that would inspire them to get up and get moving? Make that story relatable. Now, I'm not saying you should hide the truth, Remember the first point. I'm not saying you should hide the truth or try and sugarcoat what the reality is. I'm just saying that in sharing the reality is that you make it relatable to them. What does that mean? You share your story as it relates to you and how it happened in your life. Now you go on to we, and you relate it to how every single person deals with such a situation. You bring it now down to your audience. For instance, I would say something like, I started out a business and I struggled. Eventually the business collapsed and it was so disappointing. I then go on to say, every single one of us at some point in our lives have experienced disappointments. But I want you to understand that disappointment does not mean that you have failed completely. That is something that can help you to make sure that whatever it is you're sharing is relatable to your audience. Now, the third thing, and the most important, would be to understand that in sharing your story, you need to mix vulnerability with wisdom. What does this mean? Now, every single one of us, our stories are personal to us. Like I mentioned when I was introducing this video, they're very personal. Sometimes they're very messy, and sometimes it comes with a lot of pain. But I want you to know that in sharing that story, you don't want to leave the people listening to you with just the pain. You just share your story and that's it. Okay? The person watching would probably be like, how then do I apply this to my life? And that's where wisdom comes in. Whatever story it is that you're sharing, you need to leave people with the point of application. And this is something that I've learned so much from my mentor. Is that whatever story you're sharing, whatever guideline you're giving people, whatever it is, always leave them with the point of application. Because it is only when they take away that point of application, apply it, that they begin to see transformation in their lives. Okay, this is something that you need to understand. Mix vulnerability, share your story, share it, make it relatable, make the details connect, but always leave people with that point of application. Let them be able to do something with what they've heard and what you've shared with them. Okay, so to wrap up this video, I'll say again, authenticity is powerful. It's very powerful, but it doesn't mean that you must share every single detail, because not every detail is valuable to someone else. Rather, what you can do is focus on the parts that actually connect in relation to the information that you want to give your audience. Make that information very relatable to them. Make sure that they can relate, they can be immersed in that story. Now, the third thing is always leave them with a point of application. You have been vulnerable enough to share your story. You have been vulnerable enough to connect it and make it relatable to your audience. But always leave them with a point of application. So in the next video or the next story that you're trying to share, remember this. Make your story relatable. You don't have to overshare. You can withhold some details. Just leave people with that point of application. Leave them with the lesson. Leave them with the story. But most importantly, leave them with something they can apply to their lives. So, thank you so much for watching this video, and go ahead and share it with somebody else. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.